Survival House Network. What's up, everybody? It's another Cinema Enema. Zach and Aaron are here to greet you.
Get COVID and the Bourgeois Boy. That sounds so much more fucking radio friendly.
All right, so the Bourgeois Boy and, I thought you were the Crisco Kid.
Fucking that is Bat 32.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be a good podcast, like the Bourgeois Boy and the Crisco Kid.
Oh, fucking hell yeah. Fucking, of course you gotta cut me out, Beta Boy.
Anyway, listen to me. I have something to say. So with this episode, we actually, we had planned for a really big episode. We had interviewed and spoken and hung out with director Randall Plunkett, good friend of mine. We actually recorded that last night, and the plan was for him to join us for the whole episode. And you know, the first half we talk about the movie and we talk about what we've been watching, and he promotes his thing and that whole deal. And then the last half we talk about the flick that we're going to talk about on this episode. Well, what ended up happening was we were having such a gosh darn good time. We ended up talking about bullshit for 3.5 hours. Mm-hmm. So we didn't even get to the meat of the episode. So rather than have this 3.5 hour discussion or however long it ends up being, and then just tacking on talking about this flick of the hour, which is going to be Perfect Blue, at the end of that, it didn't seem fair. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to have 3.5 hours of one portion of the show and then talk about this awesome movie 40 minutes. It seemed kind of out of whack. So we're going to release that whole discussion as a Cinema Enema bonus, I guess, next week. But we're kind of talking from the future right now because you're listening to this early, if that makes sense. But with that also said, we kind of blew our wad on that big discussion talking about what we've watched lately, like a lot. So basically that was last night. I don't know how much Zach has watched since last recording last night. I've actually watched a few things, so I can kind of go over them a little bit. But just so you guys know, we're going to sort of shoot the breeze, talk about what little news we can, and we're going to address a few of the comments on some of the most recent Cinema Enemas, and then we're going to talk about Perfect Blue. Anyway, let's get it going. So, really quick, there's not a whole lot of news, so I'm just going to point out a couple of things that stick out, I guess. Have you watched that Fear Street show? Didn't it debut?
Fear Street 1994. I watched that last night.
Oh, yeah. Any good?
Fucking, I thought it was a big mess.
Really?
I was really like fucking. I was just like, it was so weird. Like it sets up. It's like, oh, is this like? Am I so old that I get to see them kind of do a derivative kind of retelling of the original Scream? Because I was like, this is Scream. They're just doing Scream, and then it was just like, it went on, and it's like, oh no, yeah, it's a killer that comes back, but then there's also a witch, and it's like, and she makes people go crazy and kill people every year. Like, oh fucking, I was yawn, very low.
So I didn't even realize it had dropped. I'd heard about it, and then all of a sudden I was just scrolling through social media, and then people were talking about it in some chat, like that it already aired, and like, oh, it was so good. Wow, I actually loved it. I'm like, I didn't even know the fucking thing was out. But all I was reading, I didn't do a deep dive or anything, but just from that little bit of discussion I was reading, people seem to be receiving it well. But it is anthology, right? That's what it is. Every episode's different, or is it a series?
And it's basically like a mini series, but in 3 parts instead of 2, like the It mini series. Like, yeah, they tried to do it like how remember Trick or Treat kind of did at the anthology where it was all happening, but it was like, you know,
they was tethered together.
Yeah, they tried doing it like that, and it was just like, yeah, it was really odd. Like, I just thought it was a mess. Usually, to have a negative like reaction to a movie, I have to actually be expecting something. And I don't think I was expecting anything from the Fear Street movie, going into it. But like usually, if I just like have a negative reaction, I usually just give it like a fucking like a 4, or like it's just like it's fine. If I give it a 5, if it's like more of a neutral stance. But like I had a negative reaction to that. I was not impressed.
You were able to watch the whole thing though? How long was it? In a day you watched it?
It was one of those things, just last night, right before I went to bed, and it ended like, oh, you thought this was all self-contained, but it's all an overarching thing. You're gonna have to continue with us. We're gonna have to go to part 2, part 3 over the next couple weeks, or however they're releasing that. And it's like, I don't give a fuck.
Okay, so you just watched part of it. All right, well, I guess I'm gonna steer away then. The only other thing news-wise that grabs me, and it's not really anything in particular, but have you guys noticed, I think we talked about it on one of our recent live streams, we're starting to enter that phase where finally 4K is getting to that point where we're just going to get a shotgun blast of everything coming to 4K, which is kind of worrisome because that happened with Blu-ray too, where everything was getting a Blu-ray release even though they looked nothing different than the DVDs.
They're gonna shotgun blast it all over our chest. Are you ready for it? Fuck. See, I think what happens, like a lot of times when a new format, when there's a switch over, they want to put out all this shit because there's the boom, and it's usually like for stuff they still haven't had a new master. Like the newest master they have is still like the Blu-ray master, but it like they're just kind of pouring it over, and like you gotta wait for them them to really like get their crap together, get like the people that go out of their way to buy rights to these movies. You always know they're gonna do that. Well, like have a new transfer of it and everything.
That's why I have hope though, because I mean, not only is 4K not new, I wouldn't call it a boom. If anything, things are going more digital. So when we see people like Blue Underground announcing all these titles and Synapse announcing all these titles, these are kind of like boutique labels. So hopefully there's a lot of care put into these. I just noticed there's a lot of stuff getting announced in the last couple weeks. Blue Underground, I think they just announced Toolbox Murders. There's in a 4K set. Obviously we have that Demons 1 and 2 set. I think that's Synapse, if I'm not mistaken. And then
the original Toolbox Murders, or that shitty remake?
The original, right? And then what was it? I think it was Blue Underground that was doing the Goodbye Uncle Tom. Just a lot of these. I don't know. It's just like
sleazy,
a lot of
old school is exploited cinema fucking subject episodes.
Which is odd to me because like there's so many movies that aren't on 4K and then they're already going straight to like Goodbye Uncle Tom. I'm not complaining or anything. It's just maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's because these are like the boutique labels and stuff like that. Maybe they are going to have a lot of care. Who knows how good a flick.
What a movie, Goodbye Uncle Tom, by the way. You ever hear the fucking shit behind that movie?
No, so I've never watched it, but all the stuff that like Bat was saying in our chat, it's all I've ever read about it, where basically, you know what? Fuck roots. If you want to see how slavery probably really was, watch Goodbye Uncle Tom. Except for the whole time traveling element, it's supposed to be a pretty accurate like a documentary filmmakers go back in time.
What an odd fucking way to make a movie. We're making a movie. It's a historical document, but you know what? We're gonna make the claim that we went back in time to get this footage instead of we're just recreating it.
It's kind of brilliant, actually. It's actually a really creative and clever idea, I think. So I actually, because they announced that on 4K, it put it on my radar again. So I put it on my watch list. So I might actually try and watch that sooner than later. I mean, I'm not gonna buy a 4K I've never seen before, but I might see if it's a cheap rent or something and check it out because it sounds interesting. But anyway, I just noticed that, and I think it's exciting because I want a lot of stuff to come to 4K. I just hope we're not. It's not going to be like saturated, and it's going to be a lot of shit. Like I've said before, I have 4 different copies of the original Terminator on Blu-ray because it kept getting repressed by different people because the preceding version was shit. And the very first one looks like ass. I'd rather be watching a DVD. It's that bad. And they finally got it right on the 4th version of it. So I just hope we're not dealing with any of that. But hopefully with, these people, like I said, Boutique, Blue Underground, Synapse, and all these people, these people know who their audience is. It's collectors and people that collect physical media. So, and at the same time, those same audience people, those are people that are probably just as happy watching their old grungy VHS copies. So, they're hopefully going to make it worth it. That's all I have for news. Was there anything that you wanted to bring up, Zach?
Well, this is the first episode we've done where we mentioned news where we would be able to talk about the new Metroid coming out, the game.
Oh, I didn't realize we talked about game news on the show, but we can.
I'm excited.
Hey, I'll connect it to make it relevant. Metroid is very, very inspired by Alien. There you go. That's a connection to the movie world. All right, so Metroid Dread, it's gonna be sweet. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that also. How do you feel about the whole? Go ahead.
It's great because like they actually kind of hinted at this at the end of Metroid Fusion, the last game, and it's like, oh, so basically we had the fucking thought that like, oh, Metroid Dread, it's coming any day, and then like 18 years later they fulfilled that problem. Amazing. I'm stoked.
How do you feel about this transition into 2.5D or whatever they're doing?
I really liked the remake of Samus's Return.
Which I didn't finish. I bought it. You know why I didn't finish it? Because it came out and at the twilight, the last legs of the 3DS, and I had gotten my Switch like around this. I had a pre-ordered a Switch, and I got them like at the same time. So it just, Samus Returns just got overshadowed. You know how that goes, and I stopped playing it. And I've never gone back to it.
They're so fun. I love those games. The only one I'd never really been able to get into, oddly enough, is Metroid Fusion.
Oh, that one's great too. It's not as good as Zero Mission, but it's almost as good as Zero Mission.
I've tried playing Metroid Fusion like 3 times. I always seem to lose interest around the same time. And from what I remember, isn't it really kind of handholdy the way it kind of like basically an AI comes out and tells you like go here, then like you go there and it's like now do this, and then it just seems like it's recycling that.
Not that I recall. I mean, I don't recall that. But
I don't know why, but yeah, I just get that every single time I play it.
I do know Metroid Dread seems to be doing the same shtick, though, right? Where you're being pursued by something because that's in Fusion. You're being pursued by that dark version of yourself, right?
That story element I thought was like the best part about Fusion. Yeah, like I really liked that.
Reminds me of like the T-1000, like always chasing you in like the old Terminator game, except the old Terminator 2 game sucked. Yeah, I'm stoked for it. I feel like I'm okay with the 2.5D. It's totally fine, but I do wonder why. I feel like making a 2D sprite game for a quote-unquote AAA title is just out of the question now.
Yeah.
Because that seems to be reserved for indie markets now, right? So the games that are coming out, like your Shovel Knights and stuff like that, those are games that would have been AAA back on the Super Nintendo. But it's like, since they're sort of that art style and using pixels and stuff like that, they're just seen as indie and budget. I mean, and I don't think Nintendo, is it like, have they set a standard like, well, we can't make Metroid in continuity, this 2D Metroid, and make it animated with pixels, because then we couldn't charge $70 for it. We have to charge like $30 because that's what all those games cost.
I wonder if like they have like analytics on like how good like Mega Man 9 and 10 sold or something.
And that's what they're basing it on? Stuff like that?
Yeah, maybe. That's the only thing I think of.
But you know what I'm saying? That there's no AAA games that come out that are pixelated or 2D anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They come out to fanfare, but on the indie circuit and stuff like that, and they always have like a $20 price tag. So I don't know if that's just the standard that got invisibly set somewhere. Like, well, we're Nintendo, we want to charge $70 for this or whatever we're going to charge for it. We can't make it 2D.
I see there are a bunch of people like, is fucking Metroid Dread worth $60 or whatever? Because Metroid Samus's Return was a 40 or whatever, like the 3DS price was. So it's like people were like, and to me it's just like fucking,
you can't compare it. I mean, you can't compare it.
Yeah.
The Switch is not the 3DS.
I'm gonna buy a Switch just for the game. I'm that excited.
The Switch is not the 3DS. We're in the future already. We're on a new generation. Price gets inflated, but also, I mean, the Switch is better than the 3DS, man. You can play it as a console and a handheld, and I don't know. I'm not arguing that point, but people are going to bitch either way. So in Nintendo's defense, I guess, if they did decide, hey, we're going to make this 2D, it would be cheaper for us, which it would, and it would be just as good. It doesn't need to be 2.53. It doesn't have to be. I think it would be just as fucking good if it was 2D pixel, but it wouldn't cost Nintendo very much. And then if they tried charging full price for it, everybody would shit on them for it. Everybody would shit on them. So, but everybody would buy it too. So who knows? Anyway, it kind of sucks. I don't want to. I would love for there to be another 2D Zelda game, which I've heard rumors that they're maybe working on a brand new 2D Zelda game, but it'll be 2.5D. I'm sure. What?
You know what I always heard is that the Metroid series is the only series, like Japanese made game that doesn't sell well in Japan, but instead sells well like in Western markets. Like
it doesn't even sell well here. It's one of those things.
This is its biggest market, and it's not even that well here. Yeah,
and people, it's funny. Like some of the podcasts I listen to, they always make that point. It's like the most insufferable fans in the world sometimes are Metroid fans and Nintendo fans, and they complain, "Where's Metroid? Where's Metroid? Where's Metroid?" But like, where's Nintendo's incentive really to bring Metroid all? Because they don't sell. They don't sell. And I think I was listening to reading some article or something recently where they were basically saying, "Oh fuck." Spider-Man. I think maybe it was something like Spider-Man, Spider-Man by Insomniac, PS4 exclusive, by itself sold more than the entire Metroid franchise put together. So
that blows my mind.
Everybody loves Metroid. Everybody loves Samus. Everybody, it's almost, and it's huge in like the cosplay world.
Is it just like one of those things that it's cool to say you like it, but the games are really too hard and too?
No, it's not that. I think it's like a Captain Falcon thing. Nobody fucking bought F-Zero, but everybody knew Falcon Punch because of Smash Brothers. I think Samus gained this huge fucking cult following and fan base from Smash Brothers. And when you see all these cosplayers and all these, hot chicks dressing up as Zero Suit Samus, I mean, Zero Suit Samus technically made her first appearance in the old games when you saw her without her armor briefly, but they're getting that from Smash Brothers. Zero Suit Samus. It's all a Smash Bros. Things. So it's the same reason why everybody knows Fire Emblem has never been super big in the West. And they put Roy and Marth from Fire Emblem in Smash Brothers to try and get them a little exposure. And they're more famous for Smash Brothers than the actual series they derive from. You know what I mean? I just think it's a case of that. But whatever. But like that's all the more argument. If Metroid only has such a sizable fan base, but it's hardcore, then don't put a big budget into it. Give me a 2D sprite Metroid and charge it accordingly, and you'll make profits. I mean, I don't see where the Nintendo is like a go big or go home company, I guess. Like, well, we can't do that because we're Nintendo, and our reputation is we pump out AAA titles, and we keep our reputation and our price values the same because we value all our games the same. So we can't lower ourselves to making a sprite. I don't know. I think it's just this business shit. Who knows what it is? But anyway, stoked for it anyway. Do we have... Is that all you've watched? That's all you've watched was that Fear Street, right?
That one I could bring up. I watched Joe Bob. He did Maniac Cop 1 and 2. Did you check those out yet?
I'm going to actually because I started dipping back into Joe Bob, and that'll go into something I watched too. But I'm gonna watch Maniac Cop 2. 1 and 2.
I remember watching Maniac 1 and 2 and being like, man, I didn't like those at all. And then watching them again with Joe Bob, it's like, I liked the original, cause I remember thinking like that one's just boring. I remember thinking like, oh yeah, it's it's very mediocre at the worst. And then and then part 2, like I remember like the sequels being even worse than the first one. And part 2 was like I gave that a 7, and my review is I don't know if it's just because I'm high or what, but I just gave Maniac Cop 2 a 7 out of 10 on Letterboxd.com. That was my review. That's what I was that. I have no idea. Basically, though, the movie, it's really interesting because like the whole time you feel like it's really a movie that wants to be like Taxi Driver about this killer guy who's like a beatnik, kind of like he's going from like place to place killing people, but and he just keeps kind of running into the Maniac Cop, but because it's like, oh, the movie's called Maniac Cop, we just got to follow the Maniac Cop. It's like, I want to see the movie about that killer, but it's like, it's so like, there's something really fun about it and sleazy about the second one in particular. And yeah, I gave that a 7 out of 10.
And what's
watching it again,
and sort of to segue into what I watched, that's so funny. So William Lustig, Why does he create a Maniac Cop series after doing Maniac? Like, what kind of confusion does that cause?
Our boy Pleppy just pointed out they need to do the porno parody Maniac Cuck and have the cop's wife getting fucked and everybody's watching and the cuck's like getting fucked. That's amazing. I'd come.
So on that note, as part of Joe Bob, believe it or not, I got a couple of really heavy hitters that I've never seen before that I knocked off the list. After hearing Riverman praise this movie ever since I met him, it's been one of his 10 out of 10s for as long as we've known each other. I finally watched Maniac. Speaking of, all the director. Maniac.
I've always thought of
overrated.
Maniac as
overrated.
I don't know I always thought it was like, man, this is like it's a 6. I couldn't give it any higher than that. But like, the effects are good, like that famous headshot, all that stuff.
Well, there's no reason for me to talk about it because Zach just said everything I was gonna say. But
exactly. Oh, and then the dank. It's got a dank idea for a movie. A crazy guy starts, cutting off the tops of people's heads and putting them on mannequins. That just sounds like what? Okay. Fucking, I gotta see this. And fun fact, that song, Maniac, that was originally intended to be the theme of that movie, but the lyrics were different.
And somebody must have said, you know what, this is way too much potential of being a hit. We can't make it a part of this fucking greasy movie.
And Joe Spinell was like, it was his idea. He was like, oh, we gotta have a song. Like that Flashdance movie. He's like, we gotta have a song. And then William Lustig was just like, that makes no sense. That'll never work.
Yeah.
And anyway, after it became a big hit, our boy was like, I told you.
Joe's, but would it have been a big hit if it was a part associated with Maniac the movie? People always do like to do that, like the I told you or kick yourself. Like, nah, I believe you change the fabric of time whenever you make a different
the original lyric was he's a maniac for sure. He's gonna kill your cat and nail it to the floor or something like that. It's like there's no way that would have been on the radio.
Yeah, instead you're a maniac dancing on the floor and you're dancing like you never have before. It's not really a tie-in. But I'm pretty sure that's what Tom Savini's character was doing right before he left that disco. He was probably getting boogie down on the floor.
Fucking jiving. He was trying to mac on that chick just like he does at all the conventions now.
Yeah, so anyway, you have Joe Spinell, who is probably the ugliest man alive, punching way above his weight class. That's what I took away from it. Like, man, Joe Spinell's he's nailing some trim in this, man. Like, he's an ugly motherfucker. I love when he the person that runs that modeling agency or whatever the fuck it is, right? That main chick he's seeing.
Monroe, I forget her first name.
Yeah, it's so funny because not only is it seamless for him to get a date with her, she almost kind of initiates it. Are you trying to ask me on a date? No. Yeah. It's like, what? Like,
that is the pure Chad and Stacy. They're both the perfect picture meme to me. I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, if only life was that fucking simple, man. But I love Joe Spinell. Obviously, he's been he's in Rocky, man. And he's obviously been in a lot of really big movies. It's just so weird that, I don't know. I didn't know about a lot of the stuff that Joe Bob was talking about, how he died and all that shit, and he was heavy into the drugs and stuff. And when the police found his body, he still had that severed head kept from the movie, like in his apartment. And I thought that was all really, really neat. Yeah, I mean, the Tom Savini effects were really cool, and that's what elevates it, right? Of course, there's the shotgun head explosion that's really neat. But I mean, honestly, I think the best thing is when the fake zombies or like the fucking whatever's in his mind starts ripping him apart at the end and tearing his head off. That was really cool. I think if you take out those couple of really neat scenes, the head explosion and him getting ripped apart, I think the kills are kind of unexciting. I think if you take those out, it would have been lower. But it was all right. It's a 6. That
was one of those movies I think a lot of people just fell in love with, kind of like
the poster and the marketing and
the way it was made. It was kind of made in a similar way to like Evil
style.
Dead was.
Oh.
Yeah, like kind of the way people put on that and stuff.
No, it's definitely not a bad movie. Like I said, it's a 6. I look at Riverman's literally been taunting it as touting it like a 10 out of 10 his whole life. And I looked on Letterboxd, and sure enough, he gives it a 10 out of 10. Like, wow. I mean, fair play to him. I just, it's a 6 out of 10 for me. And it was funny on that Joe Bob episode when he had Savini on as a guest. Did Joe Bob, like, the body language was super fucking weird. Like when Tom Savini was talking about certain things, when he was talking about like that shit about Vietnam and him keeping the pictures and him basing all his effects off like the real main bodies, like the looks that Joe Bob and the way he was responding was, I couldn't tell. It's like, is he disgusted? Like, you know what I mean? Like Tom Savini was saying it almost like nonchalant, like, yeah, man, like he was kind of into it. And Joe Bob was just, he had some pause before each response, and he was kind of like nodding and giving like kind of a weird hesitative response through his lips, through his teeth. It was really weird. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I didn't notice. Yeah, it was awkward to me. I'm like, I would love to ask Joe Bob, like, hey, come on. Tom Savini's kind of a sleazy scumbag, isn't he? He just seems like it. He always does to me. But anywho, I watched that. I watched My Best Friend is a Vampire. I've always looked at it and seen like, oh, this is Once Bitten Part 2. That's what I always thought it was because it looked like Once Bitten. Yeah. And you ever seen that?
Well, I remember hearing about it, and I had it on my to watch list. There's another one that's kind of similar like that. It's like my fucking like my friend's a werewolf or something. There was a similar movie like that or something that around the same time or something.
If you look at reviews for this movie, people seem to be fond of it. It seems to be like a weird lost gem. I mean, nobody talks about it in the mainstream, but the people that know it seem to be kind of fond of it. They give it better scores. I gave it a 5 out of 10. I mean, but some people who know it give it a little bit higher than that. And I could probably understand. Maybe if I watched this when I was a kid, I would have liked it better. I think it's PG or PG-13. It's not like R-rated. And it's very much like a Teen Wolf type movie, right? It's, I think Universal or I can't remember, a big studio put it out, and it was very much like, it was late 80s, had a Teen Wolf kind of vibe, kind of a fun vibe, not unlike Once Bitten, where the kid turns into a vampire, but he's kind of digging it, and just like Teen Wolf, man, starts rocking the shades. You have a little montage scene where he's listening to music, getting into it, putting on his outfit for school. I mean, it's the same fucking shit, basically. But
Teen Wolf is a fun one. We made it a point to do that movie one time. We put it on hold because it was just taken abruptly off the streaming service it was on, and we just never got back to that. Yeah, we need to.
We got to do Teen Wolf 2, and even though it sucks, we got to do Teen Wolf 2.
Fucking amazingly bad. Hell yeah.
Aren't you shocked that Teen Wolf hasn't been remade?
It was a TV series on MTV for a while.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That has Lyndon Ashby in it, aka Johnny Cage. But I'm actually shocked the movie hasn't been remade. You'd think somebody would be trying to get that property.
You think so?
You think somebody would try and at least tap into Teen Wolf once before making Black Christmas 3 times.
Yeah, odd choice.
I'm sure it's not a case. I'm sure somebody's asked. And I'm pretty sure somebody's willing to do it. It's probably just down to money and numbers and somebody's number not getting met or something. It's got to be, because you have to know all these studios. They're just going through that black book, that Rolodex of every movie you can think of, and they're all putting offers on all of them. They can't.
Do you think teenagers would be interested in seeing like a kid turn into a werewolf? Like he'd have to be turning into a SoundCloud rapper or something like more modern.
Yeah, I don't know if it resonates. You'd think the only people it would be aiming itself at would be the old people, like the middle-aged people. And even then, we're the ones that know Teen Wolf, but at the same time, do we want to see a remake? So it might blow up in their face. Nobody might want it. The other movie I watched, obviously this is a really big one. I've never actually sat down and watched it, and I finally watched it, which is Blue Velvet. I think a lot of people usually put this up there with Lynch's best, if not like Eraserhead, Blue Velvet. They're always kind of at the top. And
I like Blue Velvet.
I liked it too. I feel it was fairly straightforward for a David Lynch movie. Like
it's probably one of his most easy to follow movies.
Yeah, very, very straightforward. I think, well, if you didn't have Dennis Hopper doing the role he does in this movie, I think I wouldn't like it nearly as much. Like Dennis Hopper elevates, mommy. He elevates the movie. He really does.
I really like the biggest selling point for me was like just the idea of like back whenever it starts with a guy, he's going through his yard and he sees an ear on the ground, and I was just like that just struck me as so weird and so odd for a movie that I was hooked in right away. And I was just like,
I gotta say too, well, like, what is Kyle MacLachlan's like incentive to really keep pursuing this mystery? You know what I mean? He's just like a college kid. Like, I never really believed his. I get it. He gets roped up with a he gets roped up with a MILF, right? That he's got this attraction to, and he finds out her husband and kid. I get it, but maybe it's because he's in love, and he's a fucking player, by the way. He's playing Jurassic Park on the side, and he's got why can't I think of her name? I always want to say Annabelle Sciorra, but it's not her. It's the other Italian. Fucking what is her name? She's in one of my favorite movies, man. It'll come to me. I'm fucking freezing up on it. But yeah, he's obviously in love with her, which, by the way, I thought those scenes, they were kind of getting me, man. They were kind of hot when she was being all like fucking seductive. Like, my nipples, touch my titty, touch my nipple. It's getting hard. Do you like it? Like, like I was like pretending she was talking to me for a second. I'm like, oh man, that is kind of hot. I was like, I get why he's really putting his life on the line, right? Isabella Rossellini. Yeah, fuck. Annabella Sciorra and Isabella Rossellini. Like, I was doing that to myself last night. I was like, let me see if I can say it, because I kept fucking mixing their names too, because they're hard to say. And then I did like a tongue twister. I was laying in bed. Annabella Sciorra, Annabella Sciorra, I was saying them back to back, and I couldn't get it past one or two times before I started blending them. Like Isabella Sorellini, or, it's like they all sound like Chef Boyardee to me.
It's a brain fucking puzzle, baby.
It really is. But no, I liked it. I gave it a 7 out of 10. That may or may not change. And then I always rate my movies on Letterboxd before I look at like other ratings and just where it lands, like on a general like consensus.
I try to do that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I never. Well, yeah, because if you look at something first, it kind of sets you up with a preconceived thing, and I don't want to do that. I thought it looks like the majority of people give it an 8. It falls into 8 to 10, and it's like a vast majority is 8 to 10. So I'm like, I fell right below. So I don't know what I'm missing, because like I see you gave it an 8, I see Riverman gave it an 8. A lot of people, I don't know. I was like, after I saw that, like, you're always tempted, like, well, did I miss something? Like, why do they like it so much? But I'm gonna leave it at a 7 for now. But I did like it. I felt like, what did I give Mulholland Drive? I want to see what I gave Mulholland Drive, because Mulholland Drive was definitely more of a mind fuck. And I definitely,
who knows? I might have an inflated like overall average, because it's like everybody talks about Lynch, and so like, and then that just happens to be the most like intro, friendly, David Lynch movie, and that's just the one everybody lands on, and it's like, oh yeah, I see it. It's it's really great. Yeah,
which is weird, because I'm looking at what I gave Mulholland Drive, and I gave it a 6 at the time, but I can honestly say I felt like watching Mulholland Drive again after I finished it, and I still kind of want to go back and watch Mulholland Drive. Whereas Blue Velvet was a little bit more streamlined, where I think I'm good on it for a little bit. I don't feel like I have to go back and revisit it necessarily if I didn't want to. So that's weird. I actually gave Mulholland Drive a less score, but I'm intrigued by it more.
Did you get that Criterion Blue Velvet?
I did. That's the one I watched. Yeah,
beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. Do you have it?
No, I got the fucking original Blu-ray.
Yeah, I got it as part of those Amazon buy 2 get 1 free sales. So, and I got some. I've had a lot of shit coming in, which that might be fun to talk to. I can talk about all the stuff I have that I just recently acquired that I have to watch, and I still have some stuff en route. But as far as the Fincher shit, I still need to watch Elephant Man. I still need to watch Wild at Heart.
Did you ever see Eraserhead yet?
No, I haven't seen Eraserhead. Eraserhead just doesn't look good to me, to be honest with you. But I'll have to watch it eventually.
That's one that's on my list of Cinema Enema for the future.
Okay, and you've seen it?
I have.
So we'll save it. So then we'll make it a Cinema Enema. I mean, he's directed a lot of shit, actually, and it's like I haven't watched that much of it when I look at all of this. And I have to watch Lost Highway. Randall, who, like I said, you'll be hearing on the next Cinema Enema here really soon, that he usually claims that to be his favorite movie.
Yeah.
He loves Lost Highway. And I have never watched it, so it's like, well, I'm going to see what the fucking...
That's one I didn't get. I'd like to revisit and see if I like better now.
All right, so... But there's that, and last but not least, but right before getting on this recording session, I watched Disturbia, that, retelling of Rear Window or whatever, basically, essentially. And it was all right. It was a 6 out of 10. But that's kind of exactly what
it's fine.
I expected that. I mean, it's like PG-13. big Hollywood production starring Shia LaBeouf when he was like the It Kid. And, I didn't expect it to be more than a 6 or 7 max. So.
It had a poppin' soundtrack. What was that? Yeah. This is the lightsaber grave.
And it's got just a lonely day. And it's mine, most loneliest day of my life. You know what's funny is during that whole little montage where he's listening to Lonely Day, where he's just got on house arrest, and I'm like, is he really lonely though, or is he just bored? I don't know if the song really fits because he's acting more bored, not lonely, because he has nothing to do. He's like,
I guess they're trying to lull us into the mindset it would take for somebody to be so fucking bored in this day and age.
To listen to that song?
They're staring at their neighbors rather than watching TV or on the internet.
Yeah, I get. I don't know. I was having at first when Carrie-Anne Moss cut off his Xbox Live and took down like the internet or whatever. I was like, man, what a bitch, dude. He's got to be in the house for 3 months. But then I'm like, wait a second. He did assault a teacher. Like, I guess I wouldn't. I don't know if I'd pamper my kid either. Like maybe she has a right.
What did he assault the teacher for again?
Dude, it was ridiculous. Dude, it was. Have a little bit of heart. Okay, so Shia LaBeouf. It starts off. He's on a camping trip with his dad, and they clearly got a great relationship, and they ham that up, right? Because they want what happens next to really hit you hard, right? Like they got a great relationship, and he's driving, and they're razzing each other, and he gets into a car wreck, and it's actually a pretty fun scene because it's pretty cliche at first, like okay, well you see this coming, but what makes it even better is after they've gotten into the car crash, he gets hit again, like another car comes around the corner and smashes him, because they're flipped over. And he's like, "Daddy, you're right." And then he sees the car coming like again, like, duh, and he's got this horrified look on his face and just kills his dad. I'm like, that.
It's always that quick edit where they just hit out of nowhere. There's no like honking before, like, it's just like all quiet and they get hit.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I kind of wanted to see the spin-off movie of what happened to the car that caused all that, because I get it, they were on a camping trip, so they were kind of out in the woods or whatever, and they were going around a bend, probably like around a bluff or a mountain, so that you couldn't really see oncoming traffic, and so there was that car that sped around them, right, and then kind of cut them off, and then they were still following close behind them, which was whatever, stupid. But then I guess the car that was in front of them had to hurry up and swerve because there was a car that was broke down. And they were like changing a tire. Who knows what they were doing? But the car was broke down. But they weren't pulled over to a side. They were hanging out in the middle of the fucking lane around a mountain corner, so like no one could see him. Which is, I guess, explains why another car hit him and fucking finished the job. But I don't know, man.
You know what's funny? I have like a weird nostalgia. This movie has like a weird nostalgic place in my life.
Disturbia?
Like it came out, for some reason it came out at the right time, and for some reason I always like have fond memories of this movie. It's one of those movies. It's like I acknowledge it's like it's a 6 at best, but it's just like, oh yeah, nostalgia though. Remember that time in my life? I don't know why.
I just want to know what happened to the family that was like changing the tire or whatever in the middle of the fucking road at that horrible spot. Like it just didn't make any sense. Like what did they just go about their day? They cease
to exist.
You know what I mean?
They cease to exist. They're NPCs. As soon as they're off camera, they don't exist anymore. Aaron.
Carrie-Anne Moss, she's like, I think he still feels responsible. I'm like, I wouldn't. I'd be like, what about those fuckers that were stopped in the middle of the fucking road? But yeah, it was all right. It did what it needed to do.
I have one that I watched recently that's kind of a big one that everybody talks about, like Turner Classic Movies staple type of movie from 1955. I watched Rebel Without a Cause.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch his movie. He's only got a few. I've never watched them. I want to watch Rebel Without a Cause. I want to watch...
It's on HBO Max right now, baby.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot.
I enjoyed it. I gave it an 8 out of 10. And like,
what is there? There's Giant, East of Eden, right? Those are the other two?
Yeah, what I put is like, here's my review. I put, seems like a 50s critique of what would later become known as toxic masculinity. And then I put, also points out the importance of having positive role models in your early and teenage years. And I put, enjoyed it a lot. And then I put, plus it inspired Tommy Wiseau to make The Room, which is dank memes. Very Chad.
Well, Giant was his main movie that inspired him.
He basically got that classic. Oh, you're tearing me apart. He got it from Rebel Without a Cause.
Okay, so maybe he just liked all three of his movies because I like in the Disaster Artist they were like wasn't he watching Giant and didn't he say something like Giant? I don't know. Yeah, it was probably all of them.
They both bonded over their love of James Dean originally. Him, Tommy, and what's his name?
Yeah, Greg Sestero. So James Dean was the Kurt Cobain of movies. You know, you're just in and out, and you leave this legacy.
Mm-hmm.
In and out for a couple of years, man. But I guess before we go on our break, I want to kind of go over what I've acquired lately because, like I said, Amazon had a big sale, and I still have some shit I got to watch, and I have some stuff still on the way. So let me just kind of show you guys what I got. Blue Velvet, like I said, I knocked that out of the way.
Dang.
Have you bought anything like that you haven't watched yet, Zach? Anything?
I recently got a fucking Rushmore on Blu-ray, the Criterion.
Okay.
Cause I've been wanting to rewatch that, and I was like, well, why not fucking buy it on Criterion?
All right, so here's the haul that I got, and I think I mentioned one or two of these on a live stream, so forgive me if it's a repeat, but I did get that Friday the 13th collection. I got it for free. I got Day of the Dead. These are all buy two get one. So some of these I already have that old out of print Blu-ray of Day of the Dead, and honestly, that's fine for me. So I never really cared about getting the Shout Factory one. But they had marked some of these Shout Factory Blu-rays down to like $9.99, $8.99, and they were buy two get one. So I just kind of fucking went crazy. But Day of the Dead was dirt cheap, so I got that. I got the Fly collection. Haven't watched any of that yet. I finally got the Back to the Future 4K set. I've actually never owned any physical copies of Back to the Future on any format.
What?
Because
I had a VHS. I had the whole series on VHS, fucking DVD, Blu-ray, fucking hell yeah.
It seems like every time I was ready to buy it, there was a new like version announced. I'm like, well, I'll just wait. And then it eventually became, it was eventually like on DVD and then on Blu-ray, the set you could get super cheap.
That original pressing of the DVD still has fans fucking pissed off to this day because it was supposed to be widescreen and they advertised as widescreen, but they gave you the fucking full screen version with fucking black bars added to the top and bottom.
Bullshit.
And then like when they called out on it, they were like, "Oh fucking, we don't know how that happened." It's like, fuck, there's no way this big studio made that fucking mistake. Very, very weird.
Yeah. And like I said, it was always this set you could get super marked down, whether it was on DVD or Blu-ray. It's like, oh, you mean? And so I never felt pressed because Back to the Future, we've all seen those movies a million times. It's like Forrest Gump, and they're always on. They're not hard to obtain if you want to watch them. So that mixed with the fact that the sets were always like super cheap at $20, I never felt a rush to get them. And same thing with the 4K, but I do feel 4K is the last like physical media we're gonna have. So it's like I don't think it's gonna get any better than this. I don't think it's gonna get replaced. And I got it for about $20.
Do you think we'll ever get to the point where like even watching a movie, it's just like fucking just beamed into your brain? It's just like, oh, they uploaded it. I went to the movies, saw it. Fucking great experience. Had popcorn.
Yeah, you pay to get this chip installed in your brain, and if you want to see a cool movie, you just download the memory, like Total Recall. Like, oh, I saw it.
Saw it. It was really good.
I'm looking forward to checking out the transfers though. But I feel like I watched Back to the Futures just yesterday on this show, so it's like I don't know. I've seen them so many times, and I think I watched a couple of them at the gym like 6 months ago at the movie theater like room they have. So I've seen these movies so much. I'm in no rush to watch them, but it's nice to have. I have seen Society, but I bought that Arrow because Arrow was the same too. They had like buy two get one on Arrow, and the Arrows were real cheap, so I went a little hog wild. But yeah, I picked up a copy of Society, which I love. I got the Critters collection set.
Amazing. That's the big Chad. That's the big winner of this haul, babe.
And okay. I've never even been huge into Critters, but it was so cheap, and it was buy two get one. I don't know. I paid like nothing for it. I think when you factor in the deal and the buy two get one, it averaged out to costing me like $12.
And the fact that it's gonna grow fucking hair on your chest, you beta.
That too.
I've never seen those movies.
I got Arrow Deep Red. I got Blue Velvet, of course, the Criterion. I got the Videodrome Criterion.
I got that too.
And I have to say, I think so far that might be my favorite Cronenberg movie. Like, I mean, because Cronenberg's kind of hit or miss from the stuff I've watched. Like, I recently watched Scanners. I forgot to mention that. I did not like Scanners.
Yeah.
I was like, boring.
That's a popular opinion now. I notice people are just kind of admitting, like, yeah, I never liked the original Scanners.
Boring as fuck, man. Like, the idea is cool, but it's just, it doesn't go anywhere for me, and the characters are boring, the story's boring.
You know, Cronenberg movie you need to watch that I thought you probably like is Existence.
Yeah.
Existence. It's basically Videodrome. It's kind of a companion piece, but it's like, instead of like seeing the TV signal, it's a video game. And like, it's really weird. It's fucking very odd. It's fun though.
Arrow, I got, which I've never seen it. I've never seen Audition, which is one of Takashi Miike's biggest movies. And I've never seen Audition for a reason, because it's not that I don't want to watch it, because I like the movies I've seen of his. It's just, his shit's so violent to where it is hard to watch sometimes. Like, he's into that. I mean, that torture porn shit.
Joe Bob did that on the recent.
Yeah,
season.
I saw that. I'm torn. I think I'm gonna watch it on Joe Bob instead of my fucking copy I just bought. But
there's still, like, with that movie, there's still a point towards the end where fucking something happens that just completely throws me off, and I still don't know how that ending fucking makes it's so weird. Like, I'd be interested in what you think when you see it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna watch that here soon. I really like Takashi Miike overall. It's just that I don't know. I feel like I really have to be prepped to watch his shit, man, because he's got a fucking fetish for dead fetuses, and just really fucking heinous shit in some of his stuff. So, I don't know.
Fucking like driving nails underneath your fingernails, shit.
Oh, like bamboo shoots and fucking fingernails and shit, dude. It's tough to watch. It really is. So, but I do want to see it. It's been on my list way too long. Speaking of Asian horror, I got, I guess Audition. Takashi Miike's not really horror. It's just, I guess he's like exploitation, right? He's like Asian's biggest exploitive export. But I got Dark Water, the Japanese version. That was one of those movies during that big Asian remake boom we had that started with The Ring, and we got The Grudge. Dark Water was one of those movies that was remade, probably with some Dawson's Creek bullshit actors in it and shit like that. It was probably PG-13. I can't quite remember who was in it, but I got the Arrow version of the original Japanese one. And so I want to watch that. I try not to. I felt like those movies, the remakes, were stigmatized. I don't know. I liked The Ring when it came out, but when The Grudge came out, Sarah Michelle Gellar, and you have all the people they were putting in these weird homogenized fucking American remakes, they were real turnoffs, and they were all PG-13. I'm like, what the fuck is this? But I ended up watching a couple of those original movies, right? I remember Shudder was one of them, right? The American version had Joshua Jackson. And it's like, what the fuck is this? But I ended up watching the original Korean. I think it was Korean, if not Filipino. I don't fucking remember. But I watched the original one. I'm like, well, this movie's actually pretty cool. And so it made me want to give a chance to all those movies that, were remade. So, and it's got good reviews. So I got that. I got The Crazies, The Arrow. I got Children of the Corn, The Arrow. And of course I buy that. Then they announced that's getting a 4K release from Arrow too. Fuck my life.
Is that a region free?
These are all these are all U.S. Region A or whatever. I got Class of 1984, Scream Factory. Of course, I've seen that. I pretty much fleshed out the Romero collection. Like I said, I got The Crazies, and I got Night Riders, which I've never seen with Ed Harris. Haven't watched it yet. I got the Criterion Collection 1984, which I'm excited to watch that. Riverman said it looked really good. I got Alice Sweet Alice from Arrow. I got Weird Science from Arrow. I've never seen Alice Sweet Alice. Of course, I've seen Weird Science a million times.
That's one that, like, it scratches that, like, really, like, sleaze itch. Like, that's one that always, there's something really sleazy about, like, the camera work and the way the film looks in that movie, and just like the fucking weird exploitation, like, scene with the fucking weird older landlord that's having, like, fucking Brooke Shields, like, bring him stuff, and it's really weird. Fucking that movie makes you feel dirty. I like it.
Yeah. Then I got what I think might be my most anticipated watch. I might watch that tonight. I got Kuroneko, the Japanese horror fantasy movie from 1968. You ever heard of it?
I haven't.
Okay, so it's one of those movies where if you look, it's Criterion Collection. If you look it up on Letterboxd, it's like overwhelmingly high ratings. And it's a Japanese ghost story. I don't really know too much about it. I've just always heard about it. It's black and white, like I said, 1968, but it's supposed to be fucking damn good. So I'm like, all right, I'll get it. I got There's Always Vanilla and Season of the Witch, the arrows for that. So like I said, wrapping up.
I say there's so many fucking George Romero stuff I need to watch still.
Yeah, and I'm trying. Yeah, and I haven't seen a couple. I've never seen There's Always Vanilla or Season of the Witch. So I want.
What about? Did you ever see Bruiser?
Yes, I don't really. Bruiser's not that good.
A great movie about a guy that wakes up one day with his face covered in shaving cream and he can't wash it off.
And I don't like Martin, and I don't think I watched The Crazies one time back in the day with River, I believe, and I just, it didn't do anything for me. I still bought a copy of The Crazies because, like I said, I was just on a spending spree. I kind of want to give these. I want to be able to say I like more than 2 George Romero movies. Well, I don't mean 2.
We need that fucking Blu-ray, a fucking 4K, 8K, whatever they're on now. Fucking restoration of Monkey Shines in a monkey-shaped box set. Mwah.
Yeah, fuck that. I got the Arrow Switchblade Sisters, which I've never seen. I got the Arrow Last House on the Left. Even though it's more of a Zach movie, I felt like it's one I have to own just because of its pedigree.
Fucking our boy, the king of rape himself, fucking
David S. Yep.
Exactly.
I got Trapped Alive. Never seen that. I just bought it on a whim because it was really cheap. That's Arrow. Let's see. Have you ever seen that? I think it's like a slasher in like side. I think it's about these people that are like gold miners or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. I'll get around to it. I got the original Town That Dreaded Sundown. For some reason, I own that fucking shitty, the remake. But I was like, I don't have the original. I got Starman, the Shout Factory Starman. I got Night of the Comet, which I've actually never watched fully. Night of the Comet. Though, but that's I always say I can never get Night of the Creeps or Night of the Comet straight. Like I could talk about either one of them, but I'm using the titles interchangeably. But it's just one of those things. I finished off my Psycho collection and I got Psycho 4 because I didn't own Psycho 4. And that was dude, I got Psycho 4 for like $6. So I'm like, well, yeah, all right, there you go. I just never owned it. But I had now I've got all of them. And I got speaking of the movie that we are doing today, I got I want to say the name right. Satoshi Kon. Not to give too much spoilers, but I was at the very least enamored with Perfect Blue to where I bought the rest of his movies. He does have 4 that he actually wrote and directed. And so I got all of them. I got Paprika, I got Tokyo Godfathers, and I got Millennium Actress. So I'm just going to go on a fucking deep dive with that stuff.
I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of his stuff too. That's kind of a spoiler for the fucking coming attraction, but fucking I'm looking forward to it, baby.
Yeah, and so Perfect Blue was his first one, then it was Millennium Actress, and then it was, I think, Tokyo Godfathers, and then Paprika, I think, was the last one in 2006. So,
do you have to do a line of Paprika before watching Paprika?
I don't know. Paprika came out in 2006 though, and Perfect Blue came out in 97. So he had like that block of like 9 years, 4 features. I know he was an animator and he worked on a whole bunch of shit in different roles. But as far as like his babies directed, written, the whole 9 yards, he has 4, which is actually kind of. I mean, it's sad that he died, but it's kind of attractive that I could like complete his entire, I can watch all of them in a pretty short span, right? It's not gonna take me it's not like David Lynch where it's gonna take me a little bit of time, right? But anyway, so I'm stoked for that, and I got they haven't arrived yet, but I have Ninja Scroll because Ninja Scroll it's up there. Like when everybody talks about like fucking 80s, 90s adult style animes you have to watch, Ninja Scroll is in that top 5 too. I've watched the rest of them. I've watched Akira. I bought the 4K of Akira. I really liked it. There's obviously Ghost in the Shell, and then Ninja Scroll's up there too. So it's like and that's a cheap Blu-ray. I mean, I think I got it for like $7, so I'll knock that out. And from Criterion, I have Repo Man coming, and I have Salmon Samurai, which I've never watched. Salmon Samurai. No one attack me. No one kill me, because it seems like if you're a film buff, everybody fucking jerks off Salmon Samurai.
I never seen it,
but I want to watch it.
It's on HBO Max.
Is it?
That was one I was thinking about doing, like as a cinema enema, as just a blind cinema enema. At some point.
Maybe we should do it together at some point. Just watch it together.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for Repo Man too. I think the cover for that Criterion is sweet. I like it. But yeah, that's I got a lot on my plate. Basically, got a lot of shit I got to watch. All right. Well, is that it? Are we gonna roll into a break? What do you think?
We can, baby.
All right. So we're gonna roll into a break, and when we get back, we're gonna be talking about Perfect Blue. Check it out.
Excuse me, who are you? Excuse me, who are you?
Enema was a pop star.
This is Mima's last performance with Cham.
Who desired to become an actress.
I really hope that I can entertain you just the same as an actress.
But sometimes aspirations can be deadly.
I'm always watching Mima's room.
In the world of make-believe,
Excuse me, who are
Manga
you?
Entertainment presents Satoshi Kon's animated psychological thriller, Perfect Blue.
Excuse me, who are you? Excuse me, who are you?
All right, and we are back. And Zach, we are going to talk about Perfect Blue, directed by Satoshi Kon. And I have to say, right up front, I hope we don't fuck this up because there's so much shit and context to talk about. It's almost kind of hard. I was trying to make notes, and I hope I can make it cohesive because there literally is so much shit. And it's weird because on the surface of it, it's like a murder mystery. And it's a story that's told in like 81 minutes. But there is so much shit going on that's more than meets the eye. And I don't know, man. I hope we don't fuck up. Do you want to talk about do you want to go through the standard chronological events, or do you feel comfortable doing it, or you want me to try doing it, and then we'll kind of break into the subcontext and
You can we can both work on it together.
So
it's a mind fuzz. It is.
We start off the movie with main character Mima, right? She is a pop idol, which I really like this touch because in Japan, pop idols are huge. Like Japanese pop stars, they're gods. And they kind of nailed that aesthetic, what I've always seen it to be. And she's on stage, she's performing, and I believe, is this where she initially announces she's retiring, right?
Mm-hmm. And it's intercutting with like her talking with, these producers and people are basically, you get the feeling that she's being pushed to do it. Like she's not really into it, but she's kind of like trusting them. Like, oh, well, they'll know what's good for my career and all this stuff. And so you get the feeling like it's an identity crisis.
Well, it's that story we've all seen before where she needs to transcend. She's like a teen pop idol. It's like, well, how do I survive? I got to move on. I can't be this person ever. I want to transition into acting, and I want to do more adult stuff of my age. And she wants to make that jump and cross over. And during this whole scene, it's so funny because we have a character that we're going to see throughout the movie, this stalker that goes by the online handle of Me-Mania. He's watching her.
Yeah, that dude was scuffed. Richard Ramirez. How ugly do you got to be scuffed, fucking Richard Ramirez?
Dude, he looked like a burn victim. But anyway,
Exactly.
this is the first time we see him, and he's watching her. And I mean, there's dude. This whole movie is full of so many really cool shots that speak volumes without using any dialogue, right? And there's this one fucking cool scene right at the beginning where he's watching her from the stage, and obviously he looks like Freddy Krueger's fucking fucked up cousin, so he's bad news. He just looks bad. He looks everybody that's ugly in a fucking cartoon is evil. Anyway, there's that scene where he's watching her from stage. And from his perspective, he holds out his hand like he's holding her in the palm of it, And it's fucking brilliant, man. Like, this guy doesn't have to talk. You know what he's about. And to me, that's just that's spelling out that this avatar, this persona that she's portraying and putting out into the world, all that is it just makes her an object to somebody, right? It's I don't know. It's really, really cool, and it's a really striking visual. But anyway, basically, in a nutshell, she announces that's her last show, and she transitions to acting, knowing it's going to be tough. And she gets a small part on this show called Double Bind. And all the while, she has an agent named Rumi, who's basically, I think she's a naysayer. she's that agent, right? Like, don't do this. Like, it's going to tarnish your rep, or your fan base isn't ready for it. You know, she wants to up the ante, right? She wants to be a little bit more risque, be more adult. And she's kind of this devil on her side saying, you sure you want to do that? But all the while, you have these other people, like photographers and the producers of the television show, that are trying to push her into all these directions, right? Anyway, so you take it from here. I'll let you continue off.
So yeah, like you want to get into like the themes we're picking up so far, like
the main theme of this fucking movie is duality. And movies like this are really, really complex. But I think it's funny because this movie resonates now more than it did when it came out. It's so interesting to watch it because it's at like sort of the beginning of the internet. Right. You know, because like everything down with the chat rooms, and, you know, you have this guy who we find out that the creepy dude, the Freddy Krueger guy, Mania, he's like this crazy stalker that's, you know, doing the whole catfish thing. Right. There's this whole fan site built portraying to be her. And it's so funny to see the world and the bubble so small, because like I said, now if this happened today, you would not even believe it. Like, okay, there's probably a million fake like Britney Spears website and blogs out there. You wouldn't even bat an eye. But in the context of 1997, she's like believing it, and it's really fucking trippy. But I mean, I don't know. The main theme, it's I don't know, man. It's my fault. There's a lot of themes. Duality, and like I said, I'm already fumbling my words. Like, what do you take? What do you take?
Yeah, like the idea, like the death of her innocence and stuff like that, like the death of modesty, and once she starts doing like the more adult thing, like they start booking her, they want her to do like oh, you have a rape scene coming up, and like so like now she's got to show nudity, and it's got like this big scene where she's like completely taken advantage of, and then like, oh, sign this, we're gonna do nude photo shoots of you. And then like once that's out of the bag, it's almost like the idea that our pop idols become like people get entitled to them and think they're like once you're famous, you're public domain. We own you. Like fucking, you gotta entertain us all the time. Like if there's something we don't like about what you're doing with your career, you gotta fucking take our advice, and like just all this weird shit people do with just like pop icons and just all that shit in general.
But essentially what happens is, I think it first starts off with her doing a photo shoot, right? And, you know, you have that sleazy photographer that convinces her to start like taking off more clothes before she gets their nude shots, right? And and then she goes full tilt, and then while she's on the set of the show, or she's convinced to do this scene where she's stripping and she gets gang raped. And that scene is sort of the turning point, where that's where she really that's where she starts descending into madness after that. And it's fucking trippy. Like and we can get into it later too about and this is something I had to look up. I found this going down the rabbit hole. I did not notice this at all watching the movie, but there's like the color theory, right? And we'll get into that after. But yeah, so that scene was pretty frightening for a cartoon, and just how it was all going. So obviously it's simulated, but you know, I was even questioning it for a second. Like, fuck, man, before that guy stopped and they, you know, cut, like change cameras or whatever. Like, oh, are you okay? It's like, shit, it looks so real. And that's exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah, it looks like mentally draining for the person going through it too. Like, it did a good job.
And that's probably why when I was talking to Bad on these streams and shit, like why I think rape scenes are just harsh for me to watch, because they are so convincing. Like they're just, and maybe that happens more often than not. Maybe it really taps into some fucking weird trigger when actresses are doing those scenes. I don't know. I mean, if you're getting decapitated in a horror movie, clearly an actress isn't going to relate to that on any way. It's so fantasy. But I mean, a lot of women have been sexually assaulted, so who knows what's going on in their brains. But I don't know. But yeah, that's the start of it, and then pretty much from that point on, she's disconnected from herself. She's being haunted by this apparition of her former pop idol self, right? All the while, all these people around her are getting murdered. The people that are responsible for tarnishing her image, right? The photographer gets it in a mean way, right? He gets a pizza delivered, man, and gets stabbed in the fucking eyeball. And that dude, that photographer's putting up a fight, man. He's struggling. And then, of course, it reveals to what we can see to be Mima, right, in the outfit. And she doesn't know what's fucking going on. She wakes up the next day. She hears the news. She reads stuff in that Mima's room, like that weird blog she's obsessed with, right? That's clearly not her talking.
Yeah, it's like a blog that's made by somebody who she realizes, like, it's not written by her, but it's written from the perspective of her.
But she starts questioning it. There's like even a scene where she's reading this fucking blog, and she's so out of it at a point where she's like, well, I guess I must have done that today.
Well, yeah, like at first she's scared because she realizes, like, this is shit I did today, but I didn't write this, so somebody's watching me and writing it as if they're me. And then, like, yeah, it starts to like fucking play with, because like, yeah, like the whole reality starts to break apart from here on out with the movie. It's like random parts of the movie, they'll be filming a scene that you think is happening in the real life outside of the movie, and then it's like, oh no, that was all part of the movie. And it's like, yeah, well, it's just messing with your perception.
That's an ongoing thing, and that's a notation I made too. It's a film that definitely challenges the viewer with what's real and what's not, like at any given time with the way it transitions. That's even down to the beginning. The very first scene of the movie, we see like Power Rangers, some Power Rangers knockoff, right? But then when it cuts out, it's a shitty, cheesy stage play. It's not what it seems, right? And then there's another scene a little bit later where the scene enters with police sirens, ooh, 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 ooh. But when it cuts out, it's a little boy riding a little toy truck, right? It does that shit all the time. And then constantly, throughout the whole movie, she's filming this show Double Bind, and they'll start a scene with a scene from Double Bind, but they won't tell you that you're watching Double Bind. And it's like the events of the show are running together with what's going on in real life, right? And you're constantly questioning it until it pulls the veil back, and it's like, and cut, great take.
Yeah.
And it fucks with your mind.
Exactly.
But, everything's running together.
So then you're kind of like, okay, is the movie they're making like a meta kind of movie where they're like, you're trying to make logical sense? I think it's just, it's just supposed to be like one of those mind bending things. Like, where does the character end and her begin and stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, and Double Bind's unraveling plot, it works in tandem with the plot of Perfect Blue. But anyway, so of course the director, I believe it was the director of the film, whoever decided to push that rape scene or whatever. And I don't remember if I don't even know if that was scripted, or was that a thing that was like off the cuff while they were filming, like, hey, let's do this, or let's make, I couldn't remember that. I don't know. Did she know about it beforehand? Yeah, because she got the call.
What movie are we talking about?
Perfect Blue. Sorry, the show, when she got raped, like the project she was doing.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't sprung on her, right? That she got the call from like the agent or whatever, right?
You know what's funny is I started thinking that you were asking me like outside of the show, like fucking similar to how it happens in this movie. Like, I misunderstood. Like, what?
More timelines. We're just making it more complicated. But anyway, so that guy fucking gets it, and now it's one of those. On the surface, it's like, oh, is it this kind of story? Like, who is it? Like a Memento thing? Am I killing these people? Right?
Exactly.
It's like a Memento thing, and she just. Before we get, it's hard talking about the story from A and B and C and finishing that and then getting into the context. So I kind of just feel like just breaking down how the story ends. So basically she thinks she's the killer. She doesn't know what's real or not anymore. Like I said, she's being haunted by this apparition of her former self, and she's fucking crazy. But so she's we follow along the stalker, the Me-Mania guy, and so we know it's him posing as her. He's operating the blog site, and he's clearly fucking crazy because he's getting information. He's at the time we think he's hearing voices, like he thinks he knows the real Mima, the pop star. That's his version of Mima. So he doesn't like this new Mima. He doesn't like this pure pop princess, this perfect angel of his that is somehow being forced to pose nude and forced to do these rape scenes because it's not her fault, right? That's why all these other people are ending up dead.
They're tarnishing her good look. that pure.
Yeah. But it's she's not guilty at all. And he, like I said, we were under the impression that he's friends with her, right? Because he has these apparitions too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like he's seeing her, he thinks he's talking to her, and he thinks he's doing the Lord's work or Mima's work, right?
Yep.
He's helping the cause. So we've got that story, this crazy single white female type of situation. And I mean, the movie could just be that, and it would be satisfying enough. But basically, when the movie comes to a head, there's the confrontation between the stalker and her, and the stalker does come to the realization that the embodiment of this person that he had made up in his head, this person that belonged to him, the pop star, basically wasn't what he thought, and she was probably just this filthy whore. I don't know. And he tries to kill her, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's just I don't know what the theme. I don't know what that is with those types of people. That seems to be the thing with stalkers. I don't know if it's because if it's that mentality of if I can't have you, no one can. Like I'm losing you, right?
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
Did you ever hear like that story about the guy,
the Bjork?
Yeah.
1 year later. No, I read that 1 year after this movie came out. The same shit happened with Bjork. You can tell it.
Oh, I didn't even realize. I thought this was based on it. It happened after?
No, it happened 1 year. 1 year after the movie came out.
So yeah,
it wasn't based.
Yeah, there was like this weird guy who thought Bjork was like writing songs to him or something. Like he went really, really nutty. And like at one point he tried to mail like an anthrax napkin. Maybe it was a bomb. It was something.
It was a bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, but when reality broke a little bit and he found out, well, he has no chance and she's not the person that, she's not singing to me and she's married and has kids and all this shit. He did the same type of thing. And he's like, well, fuck, if I can't have you, they're not going to have you either. And he mailed a bomb to her.
Is it like a weird thing where like they get like, oh, I thought you were so pure and clean, but like that was all like the version of you I was getting sold by your producers and stuff. You're not even really like that. Like you're a flawed human being, and then they rebel against that. Fucking weird.
Yeah, and
there was apparently like the court like basically that guy who did that to Bjork, the singer, he filmed a bunch of like basically confessional type of tapes, and like apparently
they're cringe.
Yeah,
they're cringe. I watched them.
They get pretty fucking weird. Like I saw one where he was like covered in like Sharpie marker or something. Like what the? And he's just screaming out into nothing. I don't remember.
Well, I thought and I knew about the Bjork story, and I was thinking about that too. And then, so I actually Googled the Bjork story after I watched this, because I was wondering, I'm like, man, I think this story is so tethered, so it's very well tethered together. And I'm like, well, it has to, I don't know. I'm like, this guy's got to be taking inspiration for something, because it can't be this, not this well done. And so I thought about the Bjork thing and I Googled it. And of course, there's tons of articles and videos about the Bjork connection too. No, the Bjork thing happened a year after. I'm like, fuck, man. Even real life fucking psychos are copying this director.
Oh, yeah.
I think, which I guess that speaks to the influence, but.
And then to think it's never been done, like they never made what would be technically a remake of this, but really like, the true life drama about like the Bjork case. Fucking, it's really weird, yeah.
I mean, we've obviously had flicks that delved into like psychotic fans and shit like that. But,
yeah, but never exactly.
But they're a little bit, they're more shallow. They're like the stuff that would be just on the skin deep of this. They don't really go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're Lifetime movies.
Yeah.
But
Swim Fan, remember Swim Fan?
Yes, I do actually.
That lives up to Perfect Blue. Fucking that type of.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
All right. So that comes to a head. He's trying to kill her, but that's just twist number one, right? It's she basically. How do we transition into the big reveal? How do you transition to it from here? You go into it.
The character that was basically, we find out that the killer behind it the whole time was her
roomie, the agent,
the agent, yeah, who was like the one like seemingly protecting her from everything, like wasn't she?
Yeah, well, she was the one that kept trying to say like, hey, don't do this. You sure you want to do this? She was trying to be that voice of reason, like, hey, don't leave the band. Don't leave the group. Don't tarnish your image. Don't do all this stuff. Stay where you're loved. And it all makes sense by the time the movie's over and you see the twist and everything. Like, oh, now it all kind of fits together. And I don't know at what point Rumi went fucking mad. I don't know if like it was the point in which Mima abandoned that old persona that she's like, well, I'll fucking take it. I don't know if it was then or if she's always been obsessive. I don't know. Or if it was just she's, but she was the one that was obsessive, and so much to the point where she wanted to be her, and fucking she was pulling the strings of this fucking clearly deranged psychopath, that was clearly also nuts, but she was the one talking to him as Mima, right?
Yeah.
Feeding him messages and shit like that, and just basically preying on his warped mind too. So he was like a puppet. And I thought the twist was awesome and I knew, I'm like, there has to be another twist. Because it's just too easy. Because, like I said, if you would have left it at the psycho fucking Freddy Krueger guy, then it's just Swim Fan or whatever, right?
He seems like the red herring that make you think,
Giant red herring, yeah. So, but this is where the movie gets fucking nuts, I think. That whole last scene where the pursuit, where she's getting chased by her, and we keep getting those constant flashbacks of what she sees and what she really looks like. And it was fucking disturbing as fuck. I thought it was really disturbing. And there's even this really awesome shot where she's getting chased. I think it was when they were outside of her apartment because, she like jumps out of the window and fucking when it cuts away to what her perception is, we still see like the pop star Mima like floating like a gazelle, like across these buildings and shit. But there was a scene where she's chasing her. But like right behind her is like a mirror, and you see in the foreground, you see like the ghostly pop star Mima just like floating. Right. She's just like she's ethereal, but the mirror projection is this fat slob that's like out of breath, like psychotic. And it's I don't know, it's fucking brilliant, man. And I like and then at the end, they're like roughhousing together up against a building, and she gets her wig pulled off, and it's kind of like that Leatherface moment, put it back on, like type of thing. And she starts going nuts, and I thought it was so fucking gnarly how she just falls on that glass.
Yeah,
she doesn't fall on it. She like leans into it in the window, and it stabs her like in the neck or something. I don't know, but whatever it was, it doesn't kill her. But she gets herself off the glass, and then she stumbles into the street, and then we have that fucking now I realize it's an iconic shot. I mean, obviously I didn't before, where she's in the street, and then now we're through the viewpoint of Mima, and she looks at her in the street, and she rubs the blood on her face, smiling. And it's like, it's so cool. And then she's in the middle of the street. Then all of a sudden, there's a giant truck that's coming her way, right? The lights are flashing. And she's just in a daze. Like, she puts her arms out, like, welcoming it, like it's stage lights. Like, she's in the spotlight. And then the fucking real Mima pushes her out of the way. But it's a total mindfuck, man. And then there's that whole end scene, which it kind of leaves a lot up to interpretation. And I was reading up how a lot of people are divided on it or whatever, but she goes and visits her in the hospital. You see Rumi, she's got like the flowers, and, she's clearly got a dissociative personality disorder of some kind, and she's nuts. But you still have Mima there, like visiting her. And then she makes that remark of, it's because of her that I am who I am today. And, this weird fucking breaking of the fourth wall when she gets in the car, and ends. But what do you think about the whole third act and the ending and just how it all wrapped up?
Yeah, it was a cool, like a murder mystery, whodunit wrap up type of thing. But like, yeah, where the movie really shines is kind of like, in the deeper, like heady stuff, like the kind of what it signifies and all that. Like, yeah. I enjoyed this a lot. What'd you think of this?
Well, I mean, I still think there's a little bit more to talk about because I watched it once, and then I sort of went on the deep dive, and then I watched it a second time, and that's when it just really opened up for me because it's just, I mean, there's so many things you could pick apart. That's why I'm afraid we're fucking it up, just because there's going to be stuff that we're not catching or we're not missing or seeing. But like, just the idea. Like I said, this came out in 97, which I'm pretty sure the theme of idol worship and all that shit was around always, but it resonates so much more today. Whereas everybody in existence now in the year 2021 is somewhat of a micro celebrity with their little followers on their social medias, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has this avatar, right? So this persona they put out there. And I just think it really resonates. And that's what she had. She has this fucking phony baloney persona that she puts out there. She's a pop star. She doesn't want to be it. And you got some twisted fuck out there that's romanticizing something that isn't. But I think it's really relevant today. I made some notes. Let me see if I can. I mean, it blows me away. Even like the catfishing shit, dude. Was this predicting the future? Like now catfishing is like the norm. Like I said, nobody would bat an eye if any of this shit happened. We've talked about the Bjork thing. Did you realize, or did you do any Googling about that Aronofsky connection? That's what I was saying. As soon as I watched it, I'm like, fucking Darren Aronofsky took the entire theme of this and made Black Swan.
Oh, yeah.
Did you not like put that together? Like as soon as you watched it, like this is Black Swan with a different skin.
I didn't think about
Obviously, I mean, it's not plagiarism. He changed stuff, but it's the same theme. It's like the same creative theme and all that shit. It's Black Swan, and I was like, that's fucking nuts. So
I think Black Swan is actually based on a real play that is based on what the movie represents ultimately. So it might, that might be even older than that. So it's hard to.
No. So I went on the deep dive after I watched it. I'm like, did I just watch the Superior Black Swan? And I Googled it, and no, there's tons of shit on it. So basically, there is an Aronofsky connection. So I don't think he's ever acknowledged that. Like, I mean, it's like an M. Night Shyamalan thing. He didn't steal it because he made his own skin around it in his own movie, but he took the theme. I don't really think there's been any validation to that. But if you look Requiem for a Dream, he ripped off like that whole scene after she gets raped in this movie, right? Mima, dude. I watched the side by side between that and the scene where Jennifer Connelly gets raped. Same thing, right? She's the aspiring actress or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she gets raped. She gets pressured into it, dude. Shot by shot, he ripped it off. He and I read he actually bought the rights, like as if he wanted to remake the movie, just so he could so he could use the scenes and he could use the camera angles and everything.
Oh,
but the angles are the exact, No, the angles are the same. There's like, you can watch YouTube videos of the two movies side by side. He does the same thing, even down to the upward shot of her in the shower, like bird's eye view and stuff like that, crying with her head between her knees. It's like mind blowing. And same thing. There's scenes that he took shot for shot, angle wise and everything in Perfect Blue. And it's just like,
so was Black Swan not based on a real play? I mean, is it all just a script from him or what?
I never knew about that with Black Swan. So Perfect Blue was based on a book.
Yeah.
I know. So I don't know where the source comes from, but at the end of the day, there's no denying it, because I then read that when this director died, Aronofsky wrote a eulogy for him in like some big publication, right? So clearly, I mean, he's expressed his fandom and his inspiration. It's documented about the whole Requiem for a Dream thing getting right, so we could basically take the shots and all that stuff and take the subplot of the rape and all that stuff. But I don't think I couldn't find anywhere where he outwardly said, yes, Black Swan is essentially, I took this concept and I made Black Swan. But with the other stuff there, it's a no-brainer. He clearly did. Which I don't know if I like or not. I mean, I get influence is influence, and that's cool when everybody does it. But I really liked some of the Aronofsky stuff. And so when I hear, like, Black Swan was really creative, and I'm like, when I find out he basically took the whole, not like I said, he has his own story with the ballerina shit and his own skin and backdrop to it, but the real impressive shit is the undertones of it. And it's like, when I find out he kind of just lifted that from somewhere else, I'm like, that's not as impressive anymore.
It's a never-ending machine, because maybe the fucking guy we're talking about, Satoshi Kon, he might have been like, well, when I wrote Perfect Blue, I was kind of using an idea. Who knows, baby?
No, yeah, I'm not knocking it, because like I said, he still made his own story with it. But I'm just saying, like, sometimes it's a little disheartening when you watch a movie you really like and then you find out, wow, he just
I think
You
that it doesn't dishearten me at all. I think it makes it deifies people we look up to. If
No,
anything,
that too. It really does. Like, oh no, it in a lot of ways it does that for me. I'm trying to think. Oh fuck. I can't remember. There was a movie. Oh, well, when you find out that you grow up playing games like Silent Hill or something like that, and you fucking I was enamored with like Silent Hill, but you're young. You've only consumed so much. And then you grow up realizing, oh, well, they took something from Jacob's Ladder, they took it from this, they took it from this, and then I fucking it never ends. Then you go into the future, and then I watch what the fuck is it? Mickey Rourke? What's the Mickey Rourke movie we both watched? Enema. Why can't I spit it out?
Angel Heart.
We watch Angel Heart, and I'm like, well, shit, fucking Jacob's Ladder fucking took from Angel Heart, and then you go down that rabbit hole, and then you find out that Angel Heart was a direct fucking inspiration for like Jacob's Ladder. Like shit. So it's good and bad. Like you said, it makes me feel better, right? Because like when you're introduced to these brilliant movies from a young age that are more accessible, and you think these people are gods, like God, especially if you're somebody that wants to write yourself or maybe game develop or write music.
Plemke mentioned Aronofsky's fucking mother. The fun fact, that is just a retelling of the Bible, like fucking an allegory, or like basically like, oh, like we're just a retelling of fucking, and then like the ending where, oh, she gives birth to a baby, and then all the people, they take it and they rip it up and eat it. It's like, oh, like the Catholic.
Thanks for the spoiler.
Nobody's gonna watch it. Everybody already heard that movie's no good, and then like the people that didn't want to watch it.
Yeah, I didn't want to watch. I just don't like Jennifer Lawrence. But no, I know it's a thing, and like you said, but it does. And so when I find out like this and that was influenced by this, and then a few years later, I find out even the thing it was influenced by was influenced by something else to a big degree. And I would say the parallel between something like Perfect Blue and Black Swan is akin to Jacob's Ladder and Angel Heart, right? Totally different skins, settings, but the theme, you know what I mean?
I'm all for a Perfect Blue. It entered that genre of movies that like fucking just mind fuck fucking Jacob's Ladder, fucking Angel Heart type movies. The more the merrier. I like that shit.
Well, and what's funny though is, but I think it's interesting. Just as somebody that never really watched anime and shit like that, like I've made clear I used to demonize anime. I used to think it was all fucking Sailor Moon. Like, I don't want to watch that weeb shit. That's what they call it, the weeb culture. But no, anime is not all weeb culture. I mean, the stuff I don't like is still the stuff I don't like. Like, that is the quote unquote weeb culture or whatever they call it. The big cutesy eyes, fucking like, you know what I mean? Really super ultra happy and shit. Like, fuck that. I don't want that. And
it gets negatively stereotyped basically because of the cartoons that were big around the time we were growing up, like fucking Dragon Ball Z and like fucking Pokemon. Pokemon was the big one.
I don't know, but like I said, I went on this fucking mission to explore this shit in the past year, and I started with the ground zero, sort of like the most popular entry points. Like I said, if anybody out there is a professional anime enthusiast or whatever, they're probably cringing right now. Like, oh, you just now saw Perfect Blue, or you just now saw Akira, or you just now saw, Ghost in the Shell. I mean, they're so highly praised for a reason. So it's like, I need my entry points. But it's amazing to watch. When we've talked about Ghost in the Shell and shit like that in particular, you're blown away at not knowing how much influence those movies have had on big American films. Right? And we talked about that with Ghost in the Shell. You watch Ghost in the Shell, and James Cameron has been very vocal. And it's also been very evident in the movies you watched of James Cameron how much he's taken from something like Ghost in the Shell and other filmmakers too. And I don't know. I think it's pretty crazy. And
when you told me like, oh, when you watch this movie, you're going to know right away, like, oh, that's where Hollywood got that. So I was like waiting for that the whole time. And the whole time I was like, I never really seen something really take something like this. Like it's an idea you think could have been overdone so many times, but nobody's really ever done it like this before. So I'm thinking like I'm racking my brain. I'm like, is he thinking like single white female? That's nothing like that. That's that's very shitty.
It's got those like elements, right? Like I said, it could have just been a schlocky single white female and been it. But no, I meant like the concept of the duality and the Black Swan thing. Like to me, I when I watched it, I'm like, is this not the same exact thing?
I think a lot of really great stories are always about stuff like that, though. So maybe like that I didn't pick up on. I feel like any story we're telling has that as at least an element most of the time.
Well, I mean, at least, but it was weird enough that I had the itch to look it up. I'm like, that seemed a lot like, and like, sure enough, dude, it blew my mind when I started pulling up YouTube videos of like the shot by shot, that's, like literally, you should look it up sometime. Like he's literally took the same shots and angles and everything. Like, cause I mean,
Black Swan is a 9 to me, and I watched this movie. I'm just gonna fucking jump and fucking spoiler alert. I give this movie a 9 already. Fucking, it could go up from here.
So, well, I'll tell. Oh, so the first time I watched it, I gave it an 8, and then after I stewed on it, and then of course started reading other fucking theories and shit, and started putting puzzle pieces together myself. I watched it a second time with new eyes, and I gave it a 10. And I don't give 10s very often, but like I after the second time I watched it with a better understanding, I think it's a fucking masterpiece. But
the
no, the
story itself is so good, and the way it's told is very David Lynchian. Yeah, it's interesting. It's a fun one to watch and decipher and watch again. That's
the first thing I thought, and that was my initial. I feel like I need to give it a better review. It's worthy of an actual more in-depth review. I feel like those reviews are probably out there. I don't know if I could add anything to it. If you were to go on Letterboxd, I'm sure there's a lot of fucking like dissected interviews out there. All I did was say it's like they hired David Lynch to make a movie in Japan, and when he got off the plane, they told him it had to be animated. That's my review. That's what I said the first time I watched it. But I like it. No, but there's obviously it tackles the subject of duality, idol worship, this fucking shit. Like I don't know, like it goes beyond it now because now everybody has an avatar.
Those weird. Like one thing got like people like now with YouTubers, there's a lot of people you hear about the parasitic like relationship where people like they get really obsessed. Like if a YouTuber that has a lot of subscribers is like showing them attention, like whenever they get that little dopamine hit whenever they see them in the chat, like, oh, thanks for the donate, and then people get addicted to doing that, and like, oh, I want to see my favorite streamer see my name, like fucking, especially with the fucking the hot tub fucking streamers, the big booby streamers, very Chad, and like, yeah, people just kind of get obsessed with like the way they are perceived online, and we all have social media now, and like that's all what it's about, baby. Fucking,
and we've got this. We've all got that avatar. We all got that. Like even just down to just regular Joe Schmoes like you and me. People have a Facebook or an Instagram, and they're posting pictures that have crazy filters that look. They got to look different than they really do in real life. They got to look better, and they got to like flaunt a lifestyle they really can't afford or don't have.
And we're always curating what we show people, because there's always, even like if you think, oh, I really don't. There's something like you think of that's just like, oh, I would never stream myself. Like I watch our boy King Cobra where he's having his autistic freak out. I'm like, oh yeah, if I got that like bent up out of shape while I was doing a stream, I would stop the stream before I freaked out like that. But it's just like I'm curating like how I'm perceived. Like I do it without even realizing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's fucked, man. I don't know. It's just crazy how relevant it is today. But I live in Phoenix, and there's actually a lot of big YouTubers and shit that live in the Phoenix area, and people and like fucking social media personalities. These people that just have like 1 million followers for no reason, just because they probably are hot or something. I've seen them. I've been around Scottsdale or whatever, shopping every now and again, and I'll see somebody. I'm like, do I know that person? And I think I know them, but I don't. And it's the weirdest fucking thing. And then when I realize after the fact who they are, it's a weird sensation. Like I felt like I literally saw someone I know, but I don't know them. And I probably really don't know them from the stuff I think I know them from. It's fucked up. It's a really weird thing. The biggest thing that I didn't catch initially was what I kind of like delved into after the fact via other people's theories was the color theory. And it's nuts, man. So the movie, of course, after I got done watching the movie, like, why the fuck is it called Perfect Blue? And then I at first made a simple Google search, like, what does Perfect Blue mean? And there was like an interview with the director or something like that, and he was saying basically he didn't even know. He said the book was just called Perfect Blue, and the book is different. He said the book's different, but by in context to the film that I made and wrote, it really isn't. The title isn't relevant anymore. But I just like the way it sounded, so I kept it. Perfect Blue sounded cool, he said. But I think that's a lie, because if you look at the colors themes going on, everything is represented in the scene you're watching. Like whenever we're trying to like show jealousy, the backgrounds are all green, right? And but mostly look out for blues and reds. The movie's all fucking red, right? And red, and so especially from the point when she's getting raped, and when everything's red. The backdrops are red, the lighting's red, the clothing's red, everything's red. And from that point on, when she's like waking up back in her room, right? She's withdrawn. Her fucking entire room is red. Her dress is red. And it's just like, it's so apparent. The whole movie is blue and red, blue and red. And just watch it again. And I would say do a deep dive into the color theory to get a better explanation than I can give you. Like other people have like broken it down so well.
I've definitely heard people like they write their scripts and they'll buy, like when they're shooting a movie, they'll abide by like color theory. Like, oh, like fucking like M. Night Shyamalan talked about that. Like, oh yeah, anytime something negative in The Sixth Sense is happening, there's the color red. You'll notice like the red doorknob and shit. People do that, but
and then the red in this is supposed to resemble like Descent and Madness and her coming unhinged, and blue is pure, blue is all right. So like in that rape scene too, everything's going to shit, everything's real dark and rape. And even when they split cut, like change camera, and he's like, are you okay? All the red goes away, and she's like, yeah. And then it cuts right back, and it's just all over the fucking place. It's really, and look at the colors that are representing Rumi and shit like that, and then her, and it's just it's a mind fuck. And even like at the end, when she's getting pursued by Rumi, who's now like psychotic, and the twist has been unveiled, dude, she's like, there's a scene where she's running down the street or whatever, and the only color in the shot, everything is dinge and gray, are the railing that she's holding onto, and it's all bright red. It's all fucked. It's pretty rad actually, and which actually makes the title seem to make sense, because everything is blue tinged whenever to represent more the reality and the straight lace thing. And at the end of the movie, I think that's maybe what true blue means, because they make there's, what are they saying? Fuck, I don't want to fuck it up because it's so fucked up, but they talk about it. They talk about what do they say? They say some shit and they use the term blue. I don't know. They use a term. I don't even want to fucking speak out of school. Watch it. I can't remember it now. But basically, they're talking about true blue in the sense of authentic and happiness or whatever. It's just kind of said in passing. And then at the end of the movie, like where she's breaking the fourth wall, it's so fucking wacky, because after she visits Rumi in the fucking hospital and she's in the car saying things like, I am who I am because of her today. And she looks in the mirror and she's clearly confident now. Her hair's longer. She's clearly like an established actress now. And she gives like that little Japanime like wink in the fucking rearview mirror looking at us. And she says she is her true self, or she says something like, what is it, like pan up to the sky, and she references like the blue sky. I'm sorry. It all means something. You know what I mean? Like it all fits, and I'm not explaining it very well, but there's a couple of videos out there. There's one video that someone that was pointed in my direction when I was going on the deep dive said, go watch this video, and it's got like fucking 1 million hits, and it just blew my mind.
I think she says "I'm real" is the last line. If I remember right.
Yeah, so you're right. I'm real. Okay, but there are like I said, I'm not telling it as good as it needs to be, but there's shit in there, right?
There's some real five-head shit.
There's some real five-head surrealism. The blue means something. It does mean something. There's I don't know. Just I suggest watching this video. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna share it with you, Zach. And if you just want to sit down and take a few minutes and watch it,
isn't it fun to think like this? It's like, does it mean something, or does he just have an artistic eye that liked the colors that way? Like fucking, and you'll never know because the guy's dead now.
Well, I don't know, man. Like this video I'll send you will blow your mind, and I don't know. I think it was pretty intentional, like with the way he used these colors. It's obviously very intentional, but it's brilliant. It's really fucking brilliant, and I don't know. Like I said, I feel like I kind of wish we had like a real enthusiast who knew this movie like really fucking well, that's been watching it for 20 years, like on this with us.
Like you do a podcast where it's like, oh, we just picked this movie, watched it one time, and it's like fucking. It seems like sometimes we do those movies where it seems like we should have had a professional come on and help us out with this one, fucking, to get the things we're clearly missing. Like, yeah, fucking, it's always a journey, baby. Fucking, every time we watch this from here on out, we're gonna get a little bit more into the weeds of what's going on, baby.
This is basically two noobs trying to break down a really complex movie, and like I said, we probably sound like a bunch of fucking noobs, like I said, but it's insane. I'm glad I discovered it though. I had been reading about it. I actually hadn't heard about this one like I have. Even I've heard of Akira like my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Akira. You've seen that iconic poster, whatever, that's been kicked around for.
Yeah.
And Ghost in the Shell. I mean, even you've seen Ghost in the Shell around, right? Like your whole fucking life since the mid 90s. But I had actually never heard of Perfect Blue. It was only until recently, like ever since I've kind of shown interest in some of these movies I've never given the time of day, that I had to dig a little bit deeper to find that, oh, Perfect Blue is kicked around in those circles. So it's not as mainstream as something like Akira, right?
Yeah.
But it's obviously very, very respected. So
he's the more nuanced one for the more movie nerds. Like fucking,
do you think
everybody can get into fucking Kubrick, but then once you get into Kubrick, you get like the little lesser known guy that's fucking Kubrick was into, fucking that guy, very Chad.
do you think a movie like this, I mean, I look at a movie like this and I'm like, oh man, this would make such a great feature, but do you think it would translate as well into a feature? I mean, obviously on paper they could do this movie as a feature and be great, but how much would they have to change?
They could literally fucking just re-release the same movie, fucking just change the dialogue and
Westernize it.
It seems pretty timeless to me. I don't know why. Like, this isn't something we've seen reiterated. Apparently it has been remade in Japan, but never like, modernized for American audiences and all that.
Oh,
shit.
I think they remade it as like a live action.
Something, yeah.
I think I saw that when I was reviewing on Letterboxd. I think something else came up. But yeah, anyway, so I'm stoked. I mean, as soon as I finished watching it, even when I just watched it the first time and I'm like, I'm a little confused at some things, but it's an 8. And then, I went on Amazon immediately and I looked up the other movies and I bought all of them. So I like, that's how much it struck me. So I'm stoked. I might watch at least Paprika tonight. And then I got 2 more after that. I'm gonna watch them out of order. If I wanted to watch them in order, I should watch. Why can't I think of it? There's another one after that. I can't even think of the title. Then Tokyo Godfathers, then Paprika. But Randall
Metropolis.
Plunkett, no, I think Tokyo Godfathers. I was looking up Metropolis though, but that wasn't one that he wrote and directed, right? I'm gonna look really quick because I think.
Oh.
I don't think so.
This is what we want though. This is like fucking doing this podcast. We want to find those guys that are just like, oh, I didn't even know him. Like, I'd never heard of him, and he's got. I'm gonna fucking watch all of his movies. Like, fucking. Hopefully, we find many of these throughout the show's run, baby.
So I'm gonna look it up really quick. I'm an idiot. I Google Paprika. Of course, I'm gonna get the spice. I need to be more specific.
You gotta snort a line of paprika before you watch Paprika, I hear.
I'm a big fan of the spice paprika. It's very subtle, but I use it a lot. Exactly. All right. He didn't do it. Yeah, he's been involved with a lot of shit because he was an animator too. But what's funny is these 4 movies that he wrote and directed, he didn't do the animating. Maybe that was just too much work. But yeah, he's animated on some stuff. And there was a series he had a big part in, which I'm interested in. But I guess he wrote and directed 3 of the episodes on this like series. But yeah, these are like his 4 movies I'm talking about. But I'm going to jump the line and I'm going to watch his last movie, which is Paprika 2006, just because Randall Plunkett, every time I kept trying to talk about Perfect Blue, he kept like talking about Paprika. Like he was acknowledging that Perfect Blue is great.
Yeah, I get excited when we find that director that gets you excited to watch their whole thing. Like that Michael Haneke was like that for me, the Funny Games guy, and like and like the fucking Charlie Kaufman, very Chad.
Yeah, and then Yeah, Millennium Actress. That's the second one. And then Plemke's saying it's so good and sad. Yeah, so that's the second movie that came after this. And if I'm just looking at the brief synopsis, it's saying it tells the story of two documentary filmmakers investigating the life of a retired acting legend as she tells them a story. Who knows what it could be about. But Randall, I keep trying to talk about Perfect Blue. And he acknowledges it's great, but he's like, you got to watch Paprika. He's like, Paprika. He's like, it's fucking, he always says mental. That's his word. It's fucking mental. Mental. What he always says. But Randall Plunkett, like, it's going to be relevant.
What if he just went full Zag? He's like, oh, big cum brain movie.
Big cum.
He just started talking in memes whenever we started asking about that movie. You'll hear it whenever you listen to the fucking the interview coming soon, baby.
And he's a guy that loves surrealism. David Lynch is a hero of his, and like I was saying before, he credits Lost Highway as like his favorite movie ever. So like the weirder the shit is, he usually likes it. So, but I'm glad I watched Perfect Blue first. I have a feeling this was the best one to watch first too. For some reason, I can feel it in my gut. But some people, the reason why I wanted to watch this is I was starting to do digging, and I think I might even found it on Letterboxd. I think I was looking at like filmmakers who have Letterboxd, and I look at their favorite films and shit. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of go down this rabbit hole of looking at other people's like favorite films, and then I add stuff to my watch list.
Letterboxd is like non-ironically the best social media there is. Fucking Twitter, like fucking Facebook. No, just get everybody's Letterboxd and hang out there.
Well, I know, and then I add stuff to my watch list. I just kind of look at all these and go down the rabbit holes. And some director, I don't remember who it was because I can never find it again. They had this on there. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And it was listed as one of their favorites. And so I clicked on it, and then I saw the reviews. That's one I might have accidentally seen. Like oh shit, people really like this. Mm-hmm. So I might have cheated there. But I was like, what is this? And then, but basically, then I started Googling Perfect Blue, and then it was being touted as like a horror movie. Then it was like on all these lists of scariest animes, like a horror anime, and I could see how it could be perceived as horror. It's like a horror thriller, I guess. But yeah, no, it was rad. So
why does this seem like such a classic story, even though it hasn't been done? Like, is it just that good that like fucking you watch it one time and it's like that's what I just watched a classic movie right there.
I also would like to acknowledge that this guy told this story in 81 minutes. So, like I said, on the surface, it's a very streamlined story, right? Murder mystery, psychopath, single white female. But all the fucking context and he told a lot of story in 81 minutes. Mm-hmm. Using all those cutaways and those flashbacks and the sort of the back and forth in tandem, right, with what was going on with the. I mean, did he not pack a lot in there in 81 minutes? Does anybody have any real excuse of making a movie this good and it has to be 2.5 hours? Because I feel like if the West remade this movie in live action, it would be 2 hours and 20 minutes minimum. I don't.
And it'd probably be like all fucking like this shit leading up to the movie, like to the big things that like, oh yeah, we flushed out this one character you don't care about that's not even the main character. Very like the throwaway shit, like fucking low T to the very end. These guys.
All right. Well, I think that about sums it up. I thought it was awesome. I first watch 8. Now it's after second. It's a 10. I think it's a masterpiece. I'm stoked. Maybe down the line, I kind of cheated, man. So this was technically supposed to be Zach's turn, and we were supposed to do the Truman Show, but we were going to have Randall Plunkett on for this episode, and I already explained that. It ended up turning into 2 episodes, and I picked this.
Does this mean I get to pick 2 in a row now? Very Chad.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can. Because it didn't mean for this to happen, but I'm glad it did. But so I guess we'll do Truman Show next time. But let's start
referring to this whenever we watch a movie, and all of a sudden we want to check out the whole the whole filmography of the director. Let's call that getting red pilled on fucking insert the person's name here.
And maybe
like Aaron got red pilled on Satoshi Kon, baby.
I would even say since he's only got 4 chief films in his filmography, and it was pretty short-lived, and we only have 3 more. The next time maybe we revisit this, maybe we should just it's after we watched all of them, like the other 3, and we could just talk about his body of work as a whole and the rest of them. I mean, maybe that's unless something like Paprika is such a mind fuck where it needs its own hour. I don't fucking know. But no, I like I said, I'm excited that I can wipe out this guy's filmography in a weekend. It's kind of exciting.
Like a fucking nut that you just want to fucking push out real quick.
Like I said, he's like the Kurt Cobain. It's like Nirvana. It's like, oh, yeah, they have 3 records. That's it. Oh, okay.
Exactly.
But
hopefully I can red pill you on Michael Heineke and fucking Charlie Kaufman in future episodes. Red pill.
I've seen Funny Games.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah, I've seen both of them. I like the remake too with Michael
shit.
Pitt. Yeah. And like I said, I love Naomi Watts. I'll watch anything with Naomi Watts, man. Like I said, that's Mulholland Drive. I should give that a 10 right now. I don't know. I was
Do
thinking.
you think she packs 100 watts or at least 200 watts?
Man, that pussy got 500 watts.
500
Yeah,
watts.
I love that, man. That lesbian. I know it's kind of lowbrow for me, but that lesbian shit in Mulholland Drive, dude, was hot as fuck. I will watch.
Amazing.
I will watch her les out in a movie any day. Like that's instant ticket, dude. She's in Tank Girl. I don't give a fuck. Tank Girl's a shit movie, but I sat through that movie because she's in it and she's kind of like this lesbo.
I would take a fucking fat, greasy, fucking cup loads worth of fucking pussy, fucking pus, like it was just from an infected Watts pussy, fucking with a big smile on my face. She's that fucking babylicious. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, 100%. She's always been like my Hollywood go-to. And you know what? I fucking tolerate The Ring too because she's in it. You know.
Fucking, basically, that is the shit that ring of shit you get around your toilet. That is that for her. Basically, she flushed her toilet after she took a big shit, and that's the ring. That was love.
And would you lick that ring of shit?
Probably.
Okay. All right, guys. So yeah, next time it'll be Truman Show. And thank you guys for joining us again for sending Enema. And like I said, thank you for the patience because if any of you guys, I know a lot of the hardcores, you guys are familiar with my little journey into this anime thing. Like I know some of you guys have been telling me, oh, you got to check out this, you got to check out that. So you guys are probably very understanding. Like I'm like a kid that's just, I told Randall this actually. I said it was actually when I told him I watched this movie and he was telling me about Paprika and stuff. I said it's actually kind of exciting because I told him I feel like a kid again. Because how often is it that I'm in my mid 30s and I find something new? Because like I said, I feel like a newbie because everybody's like, you know, oh, Akira and all this shit. Like you're such a fucking noob. But this is the shit that had I been into anime when I was a kid, I would have. My world would have been cracked open with Akira and Ghost in the Shell.
Better late than never. Fucking, it's nice to have your world rocked every once in a while again.
No, but I'm saying it's cool because you're kind of spent. It's like when you get older, you're a little bit. I don't know the word I should use for it, but like you're not as starry eyed anymore because nothing's new anymore, right? Like you're never gonna discover the Beatles for the first time, like if you're like your dad or something like that.
You're never gonna get laid for the first time ever again.
So, whereas I'm watching all these movies that like hardcore anime people have been watching since they were like 10 years old, they've already experienced this. This is like, I mean, I know Zach's gonna make fun of me, but okay, like I'm a Metallica fan, right? When you're a kid and you picked up Master of Puppets, your fucking mind was blown. And then, of course, years later, you start listening to all kinds of crazy shit, and it's just like a gateway. It's like if I just now discovered Master of Puppets and I'm like, and I never listened to metal at all. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm going on this deep dive I never knew existed. I kind of feel like a kid. It kind of feels like I stumbled across anime for the first time and I get to watch, you know, Zach, remember Zach, when we were doing the game playthroughs and I hadn't played Metal Gear Solid 5 and you told me I'm kind of envious of you because you get to play this for the first time. Right?
See,
that's kind of how
hopefully all the fucking big lift up their nose anime fans can listen to this and kind of enjoy it on that level.
Yeah, so that's the way I feel though. So it's kind of like, well, I get to experience something on that level that maybe a lot of like 15-year-olds did back in the day for the first time as a 35-year-old. I hope there's more shit like this that I can discover. So anyway, that's my rant on that. So patience hopefully granted. But no, I'm stoked. I'm excited. I really like it. And yeah, I'm excited. So we'll do Truman Show next time. And what else? What do we have to pitch? So, oh yeah, I gotta make it clear. So in the days following this, maybe it'll be a week, I'm not sure, but we're gonna have the Randall chat, the chat that took place yesterday as of this recording. 3.5 hours of talking about his new movie, The Green Sea, sort of our relationship and what it went into him making the movie, and then we just sort of nerd out. And I gotta say, I was fucking, spoiler alert, Randall's into some high bar shit. He likes a lot of artsy shit, and like I said, he's a big fan of surrealism. But there's a lot of talk of shit like Tom Green on this content. Like
he also loves his schlock.
He likes dumb shit. Yeah, like too. That's and I can attest to that too. So it's a fun conversation. It's a long podcast, and it kind of needed its own space. So it'll just be bonus for you guys. But it's really cool. I hope you guys dig it. And just sort of a pre-plug, I hope you guys check out the movie too. But that's it. I think there's new Mac and Zach out. What'd you guys do? You guys did
Star Kid. That turned out to be a really good commentary, babe. One of our better ones, our best.
I liked your review on Letterboxd. Total Mac movie.
Exactly. You know what? The movie might have went up a little bit. For some reason, there is something kind of really fun and almost Three Ninjas-esque about it. Like that fun little kid fucking fun you get in a movie, the feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And what do we have as far as BTM? What's up right now?
We got
What's the last thing we put up?
Man, what was it? Was it Street Fighter?
Oh yeah, Street Fighter was fun. I listened to that one actually. That was a lot of fun, and that turned out to be a good commentary because as shitty a movie as that is, there's things to talk about, and every scene for me is kind of memorable. Probably for the wrong reasons, but I don't know. I know that movie like the back of my hand, and Mac was on that one, so that one was fun.
The last pick I get of the BGM because I had one more, remember, of like the fucking bucket list movies. I'm gonna go ahead and admit, I'm gonna let everybody know it's one that I've always wanted to do. I never knew if I was gonna do it on Cinema Enema or BGM, and I think a commentary would be best for it. It was a classic Angus from 1994, I think.
Yeah, and that's one of those ones I almost have Mandela effect. Like we haven't done that.
There's like a small part of me that always like wanted to keep pushing it off because it's like someday we're gonna be at the point where we can get fucking Angus himself on the commentary, and we gotta save for that. But it's like fucking who knows, baby? If we ever did, we could just fucking redo it. What are we waiting for?
And it's like I said, it's one of those movies that's been talked about on this fucking podcast for so long that I'm surprised we haven't done it yet. And like I said, you give yourself Mandela effect. But
that's another one of those defining movies of my childhood. Very Chad.
Angus is a great coming of age movie. To me, that's a good. I don't know. It's one of the better in its class.
Maybe the best.
Yeah, it's really really good and shocking because Angus he went off into the sunset and became like I don't know fucking lawyer or something.
What a cult fucking
paralegal.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest cult movies fucking out there. Like very cult. That's cult with a V, baby.
Oh yeah. Oh fuck. Okay, I don't want to spoil it because I think we were talking about it on the podcast in the future with Randall. But I'll say it anyway. I really think we got into talking about Lords of Chaos a little bit on the one the companion podcast you'll hear to this, and I really think we should get him and Pat on, and we should all do like a Fatal 4-Way on Lords of Chaos because Pat would be fucking great on that podcast.
That would be inducing.
And Pat, he's always like flirting with the idea of like starting his own podcast, like music centric. And then I'm always like on him about it. Like, so what, are you going to start it, man? And he's got the same story every time. I don't got my shit together. I don't have a mic. I'm like, but on this, he'll just call in. I'll just be like, hey man, you can call in on Skype like Randall does. Like just use your phone, get on your PC and let's watch the movie. That's all. And Randall sounded pretty good and he was on his phone. I mean, it worked out all right. So I want to try and get that worked out together because that's a fun flick and it's fun talking about it on the next episode you hear. But anyway, we're going to shut up now. We're going to go enjoy the rest of our 4th of July weekend. Hopefully you guys are all doing that as well. Be sure to please like the video if you guys dig what you hear. And if you haven't already, if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the video and hit the bell for notifications. And also follow us on free feeds if you like to listen to your podcasts on things like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and Stitcher. And that's all we got. We appreciate the support. We also have a Patreon. If you guys want to throw us $2 a month, that'll get you early access to every show, and you'll be able to listen to all these podcasts sort of live, like we're doing right now, and be a part of the experience. And there's bonus content up there. Mac and Zach, they do exclusive episodes monthly. Zach and I are slowly but surely getting through the Evil Dead, Ash vs. Evil Dead series on there, and eventually I want to move on to something else. But lots of stuff, and we also have a Teespring if you guys want to rock some swag while also supporting us. But Zach, do you got any final words?
Everybody shoot your nuts like mighty Roman candles into the night sky for America.
All right. On that note, bye-bye puppets. Catch you guys later. Bye.